Welcome to the Back to Me podcast, where we help multicultural incoming freshman women and men manage their entire college experience throughout post-graduation to successfully transition into entrepreneurship and corporate workspaces as new hires.
Back to me. Oh, I turned it around. I'm back to me. I finally figured it out. I'm back to me. So when you think you have nothing, back to me. I go back to me. Yeah, I'm back to me.
Hello, everyone. It's your host, Yoli Tamu. For many Black students, attending a historically Black college and university, or HBCU, feels like a home away from home. In celebration of the full accreditation of Morris Brown College, we are joined by the Associate Vice President of Enrollment and Student Services, Dr. James Freddy Allen. Dr. Allen shares how enrollment has nearly doubled as a result of their restored accreditation, and he encourages all young Black men in particular to attend college to improve their chances of success in today's world. Find out about the open door policy and learn how he manages to maintain his own mental health while being a powerful example of leadership and change on his campus. It is completely my honor to have someone with us today who is recently celebrating the restoration and the accreditation of Morris Brown College. And as we prepare for the new school year, we definitely want to congratulate this person, this incredible person who's doing great work, Dr. James Freddy Allen, the Associate Vice President of Enrollment and Student Services at Morris Brown College. How you doing?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me on.
Yes. I was telling you that I met you at a college trip, an HBCU college trip, the first one for LA Unified School District. And we were so excited to be there. And you were such a powerful speaker, a powerful force. I'm sure that wasn't your intention to be this fabulous speaker, but you were. And you just kind of drove it home. Absolutely. And so we just want to celebrate you and congratulate you on your accreditation. How does that feel?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It has been a blessing to go 20 years without being accredited, and then to make history and being the only HBCU school in the country to come back 20 years later and be fully accredited in order to make sure that we keep our doors open for future students who want to come in and get a higher education to where they can be able to be themselves and come to Morris Brown, where we give them the tools, the resource, the education, the knowledge, the material in order for them to remain in school. And then to be able to do that third and that last thing is graduate and cross that stage. So thank you so much. And Morris Brown is such a blessing, like I said, to be fully accredited after 20 years. Thank you.
20 years, that's some dedication.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
My goodness. So now, as the VP of Enrollment and Student Affairs, what inspires you to just stay in this role and to serve in this way for students?
Oh, man, that's a great question. So in my past life, I worked in healthcare, where I dealt with paraplegic, quadriplegic, and brain injury patients. And so something happened, after about 12 years into that industry, and I always asked God to lead me into whatever direction he wants me to go in. And so happened, I went back to school to get my master's degree. And in that process, the director over admissions, after I graduated, said, hey, if you ever think about going into higher education and you want to be in enrollment, come see me.
Wow.
And so I said, wait a minute, this might be a thing. And so I went and saw her. It has been like a blessing since day one, because anytime God can put me into a position to where I can give back to people to make their lives better in any capacity. And right now, it just happens to be through higher education. I love it. To see the difference when they come through the door for the first time. And just like on May 20th, we had our graduation, crossing that stage and knowing you had a part and seeing them to be successful and completing their education here at Morris Brown is a blessing.
And it feels like you're so accessible on your campus. We did some tours and we met with student guides, but you were the only VP out of the tours that actually came out. And so I'm so grateful that you did.
You know what? That is so ironic, because a lot of the tour groups come in, they say, man, we never talked to a president or a VP.
Nope.
And I tell them all the time, I say, well, Morris Brown has always been different. Because Morris Brown, we're more of a family here, so which means that I'm never too high in any position to come out to take time to speak to any young person or adult learner, we take adult learners as well, to come out to share some type of educational knowledge to help them to make that decision. And why education is so important, because so many times people say, well, you know what? Everybody don't need education. Everybody shouldn't have a degree. I say different.
Right, right.
I say different because we have too many people to fight for us to have this right to have an education. So a title does not mean all that to me. It just means that guess what? I want to come out, make sure I can empower some young mind of why higher education is so important. And hopefully, by the time I finish speaking, Morris Brown's gonna be somewhere in they top three choices.
I love it. I love this. Man, and so, the fact that you're with us, we serve the college freshmen, the freshman that's incoming, that's dealing with anxiety, being in a new environment, and actually the postgraduate as well, that's heading out into the workforce, and that they're both dealing with the anxiety of the transition of things. So with that comes mental health. And as you know, that's a hot topic on most of the campuses,
It
if
is.
not all of them, right? Now, how do you feel about the need of these services today? And maybe how are you implementing mental health services on your campus? How are you servicing students?
Oh, wow. You are so correct. So mental health is one of the top topic on every campus. As a matter of fact, the AUC Center, we all had a big mental health day back in April where Morris Brown, Clark, Spelman, Morehouse, all of us came together to make this whole mental health awareness, educational and knowledge to all the students, right? So, of course, the last thing we want is for a student to call us with any type of mental health concerns, whether it's they maybe thinking about suicide or wherever it is. That's why here at Morris Brown, we make sure that probably every 2 weeks we're sending out a communication plan or communication email updating students on what services that Morris Brown provide. We have a 24/7 online service. We also have a connection with the Georgia Crisis Hotline. We also have a live counselor who's a certified licensed counselor who's on our campus certain days and certain hours of the week. And plus, we have our psychology program chair who is a licensed clinical psychologist. And so we incorporate all of that to make sure that we meet the needs of our students. So we have an open door policy, where there is, you got a bad grade or you had a bad breakup or wherever it is, we keep informing our students no matter what it is. It may seem small at the time, but sometimes over time it may grow bigger. So it's good to always bring it to our attention so that we can address it. Because at the end of the day, I tell all my students, you are my future. I need you. I need you. So which means that whatever you're going through, come to my office. You can go talk to my director over student affairs. You can come to me, or you can call the 24/7 hotline that we have. We have a partnership with. So whatever we got to do to make sure that our students have the basic knowledge and needs when it comes to mental health is so important to us. And we also have, I know at least about twice a semester, we have an event where we invite other mental health counselors to come to our campus. It's almost like a panel where they come, and so students have an opportunity to ask questions to this panel of people who are licensed in counseling, things like that as well too. So anything we can do to make sure they stay focused and stay stable, because in higher education, when they say it takes a village to raise a child,
Yes.
it takes a village to help them to be able to get into college, stay in college, and graduate.
Yes. And be productive on the other side.
Right. Absolutely.
Very cool. Yeah, because when I thought of this podcast, because I was talking to students, they inspired this to happen. And it was just, I used to do after school, just group meetings and just thinking about topics that they want to help with as they go into college. And we found that the emotional component was far more important than the academic one, because they're adulting now, you know what I mean?
Right.
And like you said, it takes a village to help them get through this adulting process. And they don't necessarily want parents to know, because they're supposed to be these grown-ups now. So I just love that you're emphasizing that you're there to catch them as soon as they get there.
Absolutely. And so that's the thing that Morris Brown always makes sure that we keep informing our students, that we are as family away from your family. And so we look at it that about 30% of our enrollment came from California. So these students are a long way from home. And
Mhm.
so they can have anxiety about being away from their family,
Right.
wherever it is. That's why Morris Brown has always been that safe haven for all hungry souls
Mhm.
who just have a thirst for education, and feeding us shall be our goal. So which means that we're going to meet you where you are. Please don't come perfect. I don't want you to come perfect. I want you to be able to see coming to this side of a family here at Morris Brown, how we can make sure that, guess what, you are at home away from home. So which means that if you want to talk to, and a lot of times what I found that most students find it easier to talk to someone here at Morris Brown, then you're right, than calling their parents. Because sometimes the parents be like, nah, I told you this, I told you that. But see, then here at Morris Brown, we more gonna be like, okay, what's your concern? We want to hear you. Use your voice. I will be your listening ear. And then however I gotta guide you to give you the proper resources, whatever you need, then Morris Brown is gonna give it to you.
Fantastic. The experience of an HBCU.
Oh
Okay.
God. Let me tell you, I'm a proud HBCU graduate. Wouldn't change it for nothing in the world.
Hey, me too. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Wouldn't change for nothing in the world because I tell you, my HBCU experience is one of the things that have helped prepare me for this level of being the vice president here at Morris Brown over enrollment management and student affairs now. And I'm telling you now, if I go into any other institution besides an HBCU, I don't think I can do the job that I'm doing right now at Morris Brown.
Wow.
Absolutely.
You're walking in your calling for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Fantastic. So now in all that you do and being of service and pouring into others, how do you take care of yourself? What's your mental health plan look like?
Oh man, this is so funny that the president he asked me me and him meets every Thursday, and one thing he said, Dr. Allen, now I don't want you to get burned out.
Mhm. Mhm. That's right.
And so what I tell him, I said was, Dr. James, I feed off of your energy. I said, so your energy is what keeps me charged and keep me going. So I'm a huge baseball fan, and I still play baseball to this day. So I play baseball on Tuesday and Thursday. So that's my time to get out there, release, have fun, take care of myself. I try to walk at least about 4 to 6 miles every single day. I try to eat right. Now I do have one day out of the week I want to eat bad, but
You're in the South now. Okay.
right. You know what I'm saying? So I try to do everything I can to keep myself healthy. For one, you know, I look at it like this, especially I have a little young nephew. He's 6 years old, and men are very short in my family. When I go back home to my family, I'm probably like the king. Because everybody like, oh my God, because we finally got a male here, you know. So I try to be a role model for him, which means that I have to take care of myself to be here, hopefully for a long time, to coach and mentor him. And the same thing with my student here, Morris Brown. I gotta be in good health in order to make sure that I can be able to lead by example and continue to coach and mentor them to where they can be of good sound mind and body as well too. So yeah, so it definitely starts with me first, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
my team.
And that's good you have somebody reminding you to take care of you. Very important. Very important.
Absolutely.
So now with this accreditation, what can students expect as we head into the first year of your new accreditation?
Well, actually, last year, 2022, was our first year because we gained our full accreditation April 26th of 2022. So, so the fall class of last year was our first full class coming in, being under the full accreditation. So, which means that it was a good learning lesson because we were able now, like we just had a meeting. Actually, the meeting I was coming from to come talk to you is what I was in. So we're getting ready for our new student orientations for the fall class of 2023 coming in. All right. And so we're trying to incorporate all the things that we learned from last year to better this class coming in 2023. Right. And so the accreditation plays a huge role because, last year, most students, start applying for college around October 1st when they start applying for their financial aid, right? And so between October and December is when most things are starting to send out their application to attend college, right? So last year, most students didn't really know too much about Morris Brown. They didn't know whether Morris Brown was accredited. They heard that we was a candidate for accreditation, but not fully accredited. So they chose other institutions. So usually it's the ones who was kind of on the fence of, do I want to go to college or do I not want to go to college? Or I wasn't able to get into this institution, so let me give Morris Brown a try, right? So those are kind of a lot of students and a lot of transfer students who I got last year. But see, this year is different. This year, man, the application has been overwhelming with students coming. Because now the word about Morris Brown is out big, especially when you got a president like Morris Brown, president, who's all over social media. He's always doing something to help promote Morris Brown, right? And so our enrollment this year has almost doubled. And so thank God that I was able to hire a new enrollment specialist person who just started. So he's going to help bring, some help to our enrollment. But the accreditation played a huge role because now we're able to show people how serious Morris Brown is. Because Morris Brown did not lose its accreditation for academics, but for a financial reason, right? So the academic side ain't never gone anywhere, right? And so I tell students all the time, if you want to come to an institution to where you're going to get all the quality of education, you want to get all the resources you need to be able to stay into college, and if you want to graduate from an HBCU institution being debt-free as much as possible, then Morris Brown ought to be somewhere in your top 3 choices.
I love it.
Absolutely.
I remember you saying that when you were speaking to the students. And I told you, before we jumped on the podcast, that I loved how you situated the young men in front of the young ladies to symbolize their leadership and just recognize who they are now instead of what society is telling them and what's available and what the possibility is. That was so powerful that you did that for young men. That stood out to me.
Oh, thank you. It's so many times, we as young men, we've been placed in the back. Again, some school districts are starting in the 3rd grade, by giving out these tests to see, how many prison systems are they going to build for young Black men, right? And so many times, we feel like, there's no place for us in society. And so many times we lean towards sports as being our only way out. Say, okay, that's one thing that we all can excel in, right? And sometimes we forget that we are smart, educated Black men. And we all are not going into sports. We all are coming in for 1 year for basketball or 2 years for football, and then we leave and going to the pros, right? Because the main thing is that right now, we as young Black men, we are dead last in every sector of education. So how do we change that? Can it start with someone like me on a lower end? And yes, I do all the time. I said, that people ask me sometimes, well, Dr. Allen, why did you get your PhD? I said, 2 reasons. One, my mother made me go get it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
She made me go get it. But the second most important reason is that I did it for my young Black men. I want to be an example on a lower level to show them that if someone like me who graduated high school with a C- average, and my HBCU school gave me that opportunity where they met me where I was. And when I tell you, they groomed me to be the young man of who I am today. And so I knew that when I started my PhD journey, I did it on a program called Call Me Mister. And it was started out of Clemson University. And that program is geared to a young Black men to where they assign them a mentor, to where they help educate them on higher education and why it's important. And they assign them a mentor in college. So from day one, they have a mentor in college, and then they help them to stay in college and graduate. And hopefully it helps them to go back out into the education field, because we do need more young Black men in education, whether it's in the elementary side or if it's on the college level side. And so that's why it's important for me to make sure our young Black men understand that we are leaders and we need more of them, because I always say that if you want to meet a dangerous person, meet a smart, intelligent young Black man. Because he is dangerous.
How about
it? Powerful. And because that knowledge that you have up in your head, can nobody ever take that away from you. And that's why people ask me, I say, who's my mentor? Yes, I love President Obama. He's my mentor.
I was going to say, Barack Obama. It don't get no better.
And so I always told myself, I said, if I ever got a job and got my own office, I wanted to make sure I had this picture of President Obama in my office. And it's a picture of this family. I'm pretty sure you probably remember because he actually did a live interview with this little young man either last year or year before last. So once he became president, this black family visited his office. It was a mother and father and their two little boys. And the very young little kid, he asked President Obama, "Can I rub your hair to see if it feels like mine?" Because we as young black men, we are very visual creatures. So normally if we see something that is doing well or great, then we just feel like if Dr. Allen can be a PhD, then guess what? So can I,
That's right.
right? And so that's why, I try to instill in my young black men that education is so important to us because that's something that once you do get into the sports arena, if you hire an accountant, if you hire an agent, whatever, then guess what? You're going to make sure you know exactly what they're doing to make sure that if they're doing something wrong, you can be like, hey, wait a minute, where's this right here? So many times we've seen so many of our celebrities, athletes get into trouble, let's say tax evasion, whatever it is. So a lot of times we don't know if they're doing the job that we hired them to do. But having that education, you might not know all of it, but you're gonna know enough to know if they're not doing something right, right?
That's right. That's
Right.
right.
So that's
Checks and
why
balances.
absolutely. So I'm a huge advocate. And that's what I said, I love my young female. They're doing their thing. And matter of fact, when it comes to a doctorate level, they are bypassed us as young black men. And so that's why I want to make sure that I mentor everybody, but I give a lot of my focus and my time to young black men, coaching and mentoring them, making sure they understand that, hey, higher education is your gate key to your success.
Yeah, and I respect that you do that. That's what stood out. I was like, you came right down front and said, "This is serious, young men." And I said, "Whoa,
Absolutely.
I need to talk to him." So I'm so grateful that you came on. This has been so good. I knew this was going to be a great interview because your heart is in everything you do. And just
Thank
meeting you,
you.
I could tell that. Absolutely. So I always like to wrap up with final words of encouragement for that young listener that's just, seeking to just navigate this college experience with as much ease, if there is such a word, as possible. Do you have any
Oh,
advice?
absolutely. Absolutely. So, probably some of the last words that I will leave is the importance of higher education, how it can change your life, how it can change the successful journey that you're trying to achieve. Definitely choosing an HBCU is a huge, huge opportunity because a place like Morris Brown, again, we're a safe haven for all hungry souls who just have a thirst for education, and feeding them shall be our goal. And that's something that Morris Brown thrives off of, right? Because a lot of times students may not be able to get into a Spelman or a Morehouse or any of these, top 10 HBCU schools. But by the time they leave Morris Brown, and they normally going to call me and say, Dr. Allen, guess what? You changed my life. Morris Brown changed my life. The mentoring, the coaching, the education, the knowledge that Morris Brown gave us was able to make us so successful now. And we just had our graduation with May 20th. And I say all the time, I said the hardest thing is seeing those young men and women cross that stage and knowing that they're going back into the world and they're leaving you. You're excited, but you're sad because they leave you, but you're excited and hoping that what you instill in them is going to carry them to their next journey. So my words would be definitely look at an HBCU school. Don't always look at it for having a big name because sometimes going to a smaller institution is going to meet you where you are to where you're going to have a chance to stand out. And guess what? You can have that one-on-one connection with your professors, with a vice president such as myself. You can come to my office anytime, right? And so I would definitely say, if you have any questions, any concerns, whether it's about Morris Brown or any other institution in higher education, I'll be glad to answer any questions. Any
Oh my
questions.
goodness. And with that, where can they reach you? Should they catch you on LinkedIn or do you have an email address? How can they contact?
Oh man, yeah. So if you want to reach me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, it is Dr. James Freddy Allen, and it's Dr. James and Freddy with a Y. and Allen is Allen. And of course, if you want to email me here, my email address at school is james.allen@morrisbrown.edu. And please, by all means, call me. And our number is 404-458-6085, and choose option number 4, and that'll come to my office.
All right. Wow. I hope everybody's listening. You are getting a personal invitation, Vice President.
Absolutely.
I love it. Thank you so much. Before we wrap up, what was the motto that you shared before we went on? The Morris Brown motto?
Yes. So Morris Brown is a safe haven for all hungry souls who just have a thirst, or just have a thirst for education, and feeding you should be our goal. Absolutely.
I love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Allen. My goodness.
Oh, thank you.
It has been a pleasure. So I will be in touch with you very soon. I appreciate your time.
Awesome. You have a great evening, okay?
Okay, you too. Take care.
Thank you for joining us. As you consider enrollment at a HBCU, remember to find an institution that meets you where you are. For more information about other episodes, remember to subscribe to the Back to Me podcast, College and Beyond. I'm your host, Yoli Tamu. Leave a review at the end of this podcast, and if you would like to learn more about other special events, join the Back to Me podcast Facebook group, or simply text Back to Me to 833-206-4565. Until next time, be well.